Consortium represents a complete supply chain solution. It addresses vaccine transport, training, sourcing, demand planning, and digital infrastructure, and vaccine availability across the world.
Etihad Cargo's role within the consortium as the national airline of the UAE and as the cargo partner within the consortium is key to the success of creating Abu Dhabi as a global logistics and transportation hub for the COVID-19 vaccine.
For the whole consortium, we're building up a dedicated container fleet with a service center located in Abu Dhabi to make sure that this consortium has dedicated resources to bring vaccines from the world to the world.
Abu Dhabi Ports is ready to play a leading role in the end-to-end supply chain, including first-mile logistics, storing, processing and redistributing this extremely time and temperature-sensitive product.
Maqta Gateway is committed towards creating innovative digital solutions to boost the transparency and the integrity of the region's supply chain.
Here at Rafid, we are proud to actively participate in serving the humanity during worldwide COVID-19 pandemic.
Greetings all. Thank you very much for having me today, and it's a pleasure to be with you over the next 2 days for what would be proving one of the essential days to address one of the key challenges facing humanity today, which is with the logistics of vaccines, how to transport them in the right condition, to the right people, in the right circumstances, in the right places. I'm more than happy as well to share with you the experience that we've been having in Abu Dhabi and the establishment of what I think is going to be one of the key players in the logistics game globally, and that is the HOPE Consortium. So let me take you through a few pages of our thinking and what we see as the key challenges that are going to be facing us all for the coming few months, if not the coming 2 years. So what we know so far, there are 6 key truths about vaccines and COVID-19 vaccines in the specific. One, it's going to be a hard challenge for vaccines in terms of logistics. This is something we know about. This is why we are here today. And this is what we're going to try to address and learn from each other about. 2, that there are about 7 to 8, it depends how you look at it in terms of technologies where the emergency has been developed over the last 10 months, which is a remarkable record in terms of developing vaccines across all of human history. We're anticipating to have about 20 to 30% of all vaccines that are going to be developed, manufactured, shipped around the world to be in a temperature band of something that we haven't experienced in vaccine logistics before, which is either -20 for the Moderna vaccines and -80 for the Pfizer vaccine, as far as we know. Everything else is going to be 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, and the shipping associated with that is going to be in different multiples, depending on who you source and who you engage with and which vaccine you're going to get. Logistical solutions not only going to be non-existent in terms of technology and in terms of solutions for this, and we're just realizing, and some of the solutions are coming out in this period, but also is going to be scarce. If you imagine the whole world will want to have the vaccine now, and the whole world will want it to have it in the first year or the second year. As we all know, an added challenge is most of the vaccine, about 80% of it, is going to be manufactured in North America and Europe. Surprisingly, or not so surprisingly, is most of the world lives outside North America and Europe. So it's a challenge that is going to be spanning the whole globe, and it's a challenge that need the collaborations and the efforts of the whole globe. What we did in Abu Dhabi is set ourselves to design solutions, and we designed it primarily for the UAE benefits. But then we started realizing with the capacity, the capabilities that we currently have in Abu Dhabi, and that's been building over the last couple of years, we can present that solution to the wider world. We do realize from principal point of view in designing the solution, it's not only going to be a transport challenge, it's going to be a demand sourcing challenge, training, digital and technology infrastructure. The time variance need to be minimized between the manufacturing to the inoculations of the different individuals, wherever they are. We try to remove middle steps from the process, and at the same time, addressing the challenge of the manufacturing pace that need to be in sync with the vaccination phase. So with that element, it needs a lot of demand planning, as we were saying earlier, and some hub and spoke approach to the whole thing. There's going to be a custom challenges in terms of training, in terms of having a predefined processes and SOPs, and bearing in mind that probably it's safe to say that most of the world and most of the people who's going to be dealing with the logistics of these vaccines have zero experience in minus 80 degrees Celsius. It's a very specialized area, the likes of which hasn't been seen before. Novel packaging need to be addressed. SOPs need to be in place. Some training need to be conducted. And there will be a rush and shortage of logistic capacity, as we were saying earlier, vaccine supply, and that will lead to the need to manage people's expectations. Vaccine supply for a significant part of the global population might not arrive at the time that everybody require. And needless to say, that expectation is very high, and that expectation is justified. However, it needs to be managed in the right way. Of course, with the different vaccines, after formulation stabilization, that's when you mix the vaccine with the normal saline, probably temperature requirement will reverse back to 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. Now that presents challenges, it's across the world. This is probably the first time in history where every single person, every single entity, every single government, every single responsible contributor to the logistics are going to be facing the same challenges. There are elements of regulatory approval, product release and quality assurance, supply shortages, high volume production, physical damage, temperature control, transportation, and temperature controlled transportation equipment where there might be of shortage. Also, a couple of other points that are worth keeping in mind. There is the security and theft elements. Many of us heard about the cyber security attacks that have been targeting the logistics of vaccines over the last couple of weeks. However, there's also the physical security elements and the prevention of damage. And that is something that need to be factored in any logistical chain that is going to be designed. Now, you heard many of these quotations, which is elements around the capacity. And not only that the 2 to 8 capacity is going to be need to be addressed in the right way and is going to be in shortage when most of the vaccines are going to be approved or being transported. But also bear in mind, even at the time when you start to deal with minus 80 or minus 20, that will take away from the bandwidth available capacity in order to deal with this. And that will put a backlog pressure on the 2 to 8, and that will put, again, a second backlog on the common pharmaceuticals that are being transported around the world today. There is going to be, and there are different quotations of this, between 8,000 to 16,000 cargo planes, full cargo planes equivalent, in order to transport the different vaccines that are going to be shipped around the world to inoculate about 70% of the population. The expectations from many of the authorities is that there's going to be a need to inoculate, to vaccinate about 4 billion individuals in order for the vaccination program to be effective. And with that, you still have to bear in mind that most of the vaccine, apart from one, are going to be in 2 doses. So you need to double the numbers and understand what that brings in terms of capacity of handling, capacity of shipping, and capacity of storing. And then the airport readiness. So many of the people who works in the airports or report or work in the different ports might not have seen a -20 or -80 probably once in every 6 months or once in a year. But now they should be expecting and they should be trained to address the handling of pharmaceuticals that will require these temperatures and the bulk of their packaging that might be a daily occurrence for this. From our side in Abu Dhabi, from capacity point of view, I'll come to describe some of the partners we put in place. So what you need from technology point of view, you need cooling systems, you need cold storage, cold transport, cold processing, and distribution in order to maintain the temperature integrity across the supply chain. What we did is we brought the best of what is on offer regionally and globally. So we brought the likes of SkyCell. SkyCell is one of the cold containers manufacturers and suppliers. They are Swiss-based. And the reason we went with SkyCell because of 3 things. One is the failure rating compared to they are the best in terms of failure rate compared to the rest of the market in their industry. Second, instead of being only able to put 3 containers in an airplane because of the limitations around dry ice, with a SkyCell you can put 10 containers because of the technology we worked on and they worked on to develop for the -20 and -70. And third is because of the tracking they provide, and an added bonus after the research they have done, they can maintain the temperature up to 8 days as compared to the normal standards in the market, which is 3 days. Abu Dhabi ports, and you might say, well, most of the vaccines are going to be shipped via airlines. Abu Dhabi ports has one of the largest capacities, not only regionally, but internationally in terms of the 3 temperature bands. So the 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, the -20 and the -80. They will be able to handle or store 6 billion vaccines across the coming year. It's an overkill a bit, but these 6 billion vaccines can handle the 3 ranges of temperature. And that 6 billion is going to be increased up to 18 billion vaccines to be handled, depending on the doses in each of the vials and depending on what's the throughput that is going to go through the storage capacity. Etihad Cargo, do you know about Etihad? They are one of the top 10 airlines globally. Etihad Cargo itself is the first and only farmer certified airline in the region. So they have all the SOPs, the standards, the GMPs required in order to address through the various destinations, being it through chartered, through scheduled, or through partnership with other airlines, whatever the needs would be to deliver to the right airport. Now, we're also including RAFID, and RAFID is the overseeing PMO and coordination entity that's been having the right experience with vaccines and pharmaceuticals for the last many years in terms of UAE needs as well as the humanitarian needs around all sorts of logistics for pharmaceuticals or life science. What we also did is we added a kind of end-to-end digital solution that will, for the first time, use blockchains in order to maintain the security of it, as well as giving to the different customers, being it pharmaceutical companies, being it countries, being it manufacturers, or freight forwarders, visibility of 3 things. Where is the shipment at any part of the logistic chain? Second, what's the temperature integrity across the different parts of the supply chain? And third, what's the inventory management of my shipments? From our side, as Department of Health, we're supporting all of these players to add the subject know-how from a healthcare point of view, and also to provide the assurances around the quality of that supply chain, and that's meeting the best of international standards. Now, what we are facing, and this is what we're expecting, it's a one of two scenarios that are going to be. So one scenario is the manufacturer will say, here's my shipment, take it away and deliver it to country X. Now you take that shipment, you use the cold containers like SkyCell, use airlines like Etihad Cargo, and they will deliver depending on how big is the shipment. But we are anticipating a second challenge that many of us might not start thinking about. Now, I might, as a country, contract one of the pharmaceutical company to buy 5 million vaccines. Now, for me as a country, it's very difficult for me. I might have only 50,000 capacity of vaccinating the population I'm serving across the 1 week. It's no use for me if you deliver the 5 million vaccines on 3 shipments or 4 shipments. I need these to be staggered. And that's where it comes the hub and spoke approach. And what we also offering. So what we're offering is to pick up the biggest shipments from the different manufacturing sites or the different main logistical hubs that are close to different manufacturing sites in Europe, bring it close to your countries in Abu Dhabi, use the massive facility of storage that we currently have, and then start delivering it in a schedule that will be matching your vaccination program to minimize the risk of the temperature integrity being compromised. And then we also work with you, with the different freight forwarders across the globe, and I'll come to mention some of them who already signed, in order to help you design a solution that will get you the last mile delivered. So that's the different solutions what the HOPE Consortium is offering. And this is, of course, what you know about the cold chain and the ultra cold chain. And now we have the ultra cold chain and how we're going to work with the different players. As I was saying earlier, we have Etihad Cargo, Abu Dhabi Ports with the storage, SkyCell, Maqla Gateway with the digital solution. But we also brand agnostic when it comes to freight forwarders. But with these freight forwarders already signing with us, we are able to now cover almost 170 countries in terms of the solutions we got. Now, you have to bear in mind, it's not a take it all or leave it. These are what we are trying to provide is a one-stop solution that you come and say, I need A, B, and C out of that solution in order to address my needs. So it could be a pharmaceutical company saying, I need a full plan to deliver vaccines for these 3 countries, or it could be a country themselves and say, I will be using my national airlines. I only need storage. I don't need your containers. I don't need your airway. Alternatively, you might say, I just need Etihad Cargo and SkyCell in order to deliver the vaccines of my vaccines from point A to point B, and at the same time, having full visibility of where these vaccines are and what's the temperature integrity according to the plan that you put in place. With that to say, I would like to add a few points. So many of us at the same time last year probably spent time with our families, friends, and loved ones and colleagues planning ahead, saying this is our hopes, and have high hopes for the things to do in 2020. We have hopes of meeting new people, visiting new places, or achieving growth at professional and personal level. Unbeknown to us, or many of us, we didn't realize that the smallest of creatures that exist on the planet will wreak havoc economically, at health point of view, and geopolitically. Now, the science has stepped up and produced something not short of a miracle, not short of amazing, to produce a vaccine, and actually multiple vaccines, over the course of 10 months, which is a record time, considering that the shortest time to producing a vaccine is 8 years. Now that record being smashed with the 10 years. That was a big challenge. Universities, scientists, pharmaceuticals, countries, and NGOs has worked together in order to do that. And that was a challenge that is being addressed. Now we have an equal challenge, no less of a challenge of delivering that vaccine to the right place, to the right people, at the right pace, and at the right time. And we see Abu Dhabi Hope Consortium to be working as a hand in hand with everybody in the most flexible way, in the most collaborative way, in order to provide solutions that will be at the global level one of the finest, in order to bring that hope back to all of us so we can plan for the year ahead and the years to follow in terms of people to see, new people to meet, places to visit, and a growth to be achieved at professional and personal level. With that, I thank you very much, and please stay safe.